I have been talking about life hereafter, and the discussion primarily is on the arguments that the Almighty has presented for the reader to understand and therefore believe in the fact that there is a life hereafter. That's what the process of the Quran is. You are made to understand, and as a consequence of your understanding, you are asked to believe those realities that you have not seen, but they're so very important to be accepted and acknowledged that you can't ignore them. So we talked about belief in God first, and now we are talking about belief in life hereafter. What we find is that in the Quran, the Almighty has basically raised two questions regarding the life hereafter, which people would have in mind, and answered them convincingly. One question is, why should there be a life hereafter at all? And the other is, how could life hereafter be possible? So, as far as the answer to the question how is concerned, we have already talked about it in two of our sessions. I mentioned the fact that the Quran clarifies that the reason why there should be a life hereafter is that this life, worldly life of ours, is incomplete. It doesn't make sense. It is absurd without a life hereafter. And therefore, there should be a life hereafter. The other argument that's presented in the Quran, and I mentioned it in the last presentation, was that if you believe in God truly, then you believe in a God who has a number of attributes. And those attributes, if you understand them properly, they necessitate the life hereafter. Without life hereafter and clear understanding of life hereafter, you cannot accept and believe in a God who is wise, who is fair, who is merciful, and who is taking care of us, who is providing us with our needs. Today, I'm going to talk about the second question. And that question is, how could the life hereafter be possible? So, I mean, if it's intellectually uh, a need, you feel the need for a life hereafter to be there, but that's not just enough. You also ought to be clear that the life hereafter is possible. Now, when we say the possibility of life hereafter, again, what we find in the Quran are two questions that are addressed. One question is, how is recreation of humans going to be possible? Is it possible for humans to be recreated and to have the same form? How is it possible? And the other question is, how is all the information that will be needed for the Almighty to do the process of accountability, where is that information going to come from? So, God, knowing that our intellect would always be asking these questions, has addressed both questions and responded to them. So, let's take the first question. Before I go about mentioning the answer to the first question, uh, let me refer to two passages of the Quran which are actually talking about the fact that those who did not believe are asking these questions. And what you will notice is that the manner the Almighty has mentioned those questions, it seems that God wants us to know what those who don't believe are saying in their own language, in their own style, most effectively. You see, quite often it so happens that when we have a difference of opinion with somebody else, and you're talking to people who are, let's say, fond of you, your followers, you would quite often find that the individual, no matter whether a religious scholar or a politician or anyone else, he would present the point of view of the opposite number in a way that you would feel that, this person must be crazy. It's a silly question. But when you look at the way the Quran has mentioned the questions raised by the disbelievers, you honestly would feel this question is important and really is influencing you. It is hitting you, and we need an answer. I'll let you know why the Almighty has done it, quite apart from the fact that obviously we need to be honest. And for honest intellectual understanding, it's important that we take all arguments on the basis of their merit, and we don't show intellectual dishonesty. That is what I keep saying. That is what Iman is all about. If you have faith, it's absolutely essential that you are intellectually honest, and it is your intellectual honesty that would ultimately take you to true belief. Dogma is fine. I mean, you can have any time from anywhere. That's not a problem. But true belief that the Almighty wants us to have uh, in our minds, in our hearts, can only come about if we are honestly trying to understand the truth about the topic that we are investigating. So let me mention the first of the two passages wherein the Almighty is talking about how the kuffar disbelievers were raising this question about life hereafter. The Quran says that these disbelievers say, أَيَعِدُكُمْ أَنَّكُمْ إِذَا مِتُّمْ وَكُنْتُمْ تُرَابًا وَعِظَامًا أَنَّكُمْ مُخْرَجُونَ. Are you أَيَعِدُكُمْ? Is he giving you the promise, أَنَّكُمْ إِذَا مِتُّمْ, that when you're going to be dead, وَكُنْتُمْ تُرَابًا وَعِظَامًا, and you're going to be reduced to dust and bones, أَنَّكُمْ مُخْرَجُونَ, that you are going to be created again. Hayhata, hayhata lima tu'adun. Very far fetched is what you are being promised. In hiya illa hayatuna dunya. There is nothing but this worldly life. Namutu wa nahya wa ma nahnu bimab'usin. We live and we die here, and we are not going to be resurrected. The effect, the force that the Almighty has presented in the way the disbelievers are asking this question. Honest, you read it, you get impressed. It makes a lot of sense. It's very strong. We need to get an answer. I'll mention another passage. This is Surah Al-Mu'minun, Surah number 23, verses 33 to 35. Another passage is it's Surah Saba, Surah number 34. It says, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, and so say the people who disbelieve. هَلْ نَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى رَجُلٍ, should we not tell you about a person? يُنَبِّئُكُمْ, who is telling you, informing you, إِذَا مُزِّقْتُمْ كُلَّ مُمَزَّقٍ, that after you are completely disintegrated, أَنَّكُمْ لَفِي خَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ, that you are going to be given a new creation. In other words, how silly, how foolish, how far-fetched. This is what the Quran does, even while talking about those who are not believers. You know why? The reason is that, the Quran describes itself as food, its risk, provision. If you don't have hunger, you will not be able to digest it. You will not need it. You will not ask for it. Why would you eat something if you're not hungry? You know, Likewise is the case with faith. I mean, if you are not thinking, if you don't have any problems in your mind, if for you this life is complete, you're completely satisfied, there are no questions. Why have we been created? Why are there so many differences? Why do we die? Why is it unfair? If you're okay and you're not concerned, you're insensitive, fine. Good luck to you. But if you really are looking for answers and you are facing the questions, the kind of questions that these people are facing, and the Quran is mentioning them, then you will look for answers. And it is only when you are desperately looking for answers that you will understand them. Otherwise, I tell you, you will not even be interested. You know, while the Quran is going to be read out to you, you will sleep, you will yawn, you'll say, oh, let's do something else. But if you are looking for answers, there's nothing better than the book of the Almighty. So now these are the questions. The answer provided by the Almighty is, in three different ways. There are three different arguments that are provided to help the reader understand and appreciate that there is a life hereafter. Now, another important thing that you would notice is that while there is a lot of rhetoric, emotionally charged presentation when it comes to the questioning of the kuffar, but when the Almighty is answering those questions, responding to them, the response is simple uh, and is natural and logical. I think that is in the nature of the truth, that it's simple, it's natural, and it's clear. And when somebody wants to be into the domain of propaganda, then yes, you need to use you know, your ability to communicate to the fullest. You will use words, you will express in a way that people are impressed by what you're saying. Uh, and let me say something probably not very relevant to what I'm saying. Honestly, one of the reasons why, at least I'm talking about Muslims, when it comes to understanding the Quran, they're not particularly inclined is that the religious stuff that they normally hear is emotionally charged. You know, people are talking about stories which really are, if you want to believe them, very exciting, but unbelievable. And the manner the person is talking about them, if you get inclined to accepting them, you will not be able to understand and appreciate uh, the sublime presentation of the Quranic message. For that, you need to have a taste. You need to have questions in your mind. And you need to think deeply into what the Almighty has presented. So, the first of the three responses are the first one is the Almighty says a very simple statement: "Innahu yabda'ul khalq thumma yu'id, thumma yu'idu." He is the one who created this existence for the first time, and he's going to repeat it. In other words, what is the problem? You know, do you accept and believe that he created whatever is there around you and yourself? Then why are you surprised that we are telling you that he's going to create you again? Should not be, should not be difficult. Should not be any problem for him. So that's one response, and this response is mentioned in a number of passages of the Quran. The one who created you for the first time will not find it difficult for you to be recreated. Point number two, he says, have you not looked at the life around you, the environment, the natural life around you? Be sure, أن الله يحيي الأرض بعد موتها, that God, He gives life to the soil after it is dead. That is, do you not see every year, every season, in the case of plants, crops, etc., that the soil is completely dead? There's no life in it. And then the rain falls, and if you have sown the seeds, uh, crop emerges once again. And this happens every year, in fact, every season. Apart from many other reasons to remind you and to convince you that the one who can bring the dead soil back to life is the one who is going to bring you back to life. So, the creator who can do that miracle that you witness every year, every season, is going to do it again for you. Quite often it so happens that whatever we go through in life, we take it for granted. We are not particularly, inclined to understand and to imagine what's going on. But the fact of the matter is that a soil that was dead, it was lifeless, and then it came back to life. You know, only a few days ago, there was nothing to be seen, and now you see crops, plants emerging. That is what happens when dead soil comes back to life. The Almighty says, the same way, I'm going to bring you back to life. And this example is mentioned in the Quran over and over again. And it seems that, like the seeds are sown in soil and they come out as crops. Likewise, we are sown as dead bodies, you're buried, and we are going to come out. So, why is it difficult for you to imagine that there cannot be another life after death? And the third argument that the Almighty is presented is, call it a little indirect argument. This argument that the verse that I've mentioned is from Surah Al-Hadid, Surah 57, verse 17. The third one is that the Almighty says that Antum ashaddu khalqan amis samau. Are you more difficult to be created or the sky? Manaha, we erected it. Rafa samkaha asawwaha. We made it as a sky with large, vast expanse, and we perfected it. And then he talks about a number of other aspects of his creation, um, and asks this question that, do you think that the one who has created the world around you, when it will come to the need for you to be created again, you will find it difficult? Certainly not. He'll do it. So what I'm saying is that when it comes to the question of life hereafter, the Quran responds to all important questions. Why should there be life hereafter? How is it possible? I mentioned towards the beginning that how is life hereafter going to be possible has again two different components. One question is, how would it be possible for us after we are dead that we are going to be recreated? The other question is, how is it going to be possible for the Almighty to hold all humans accountable? Where is the information going to come from? Um, Honestly, this is one question that amazes me more than anything, any other. He is going to make sure all humans are going to be held accountable exactly in accordance with their performance. And his ultimate decision is going to be perfectly just. Not, not just it's going to be perfectly just, it's going to be moreover based on his mercy. So, how would it be possible? And the Quran again deals with this question and answers it in different ways. One way that it has answered, the Quran has answered this question is that if you know your God, your creator, and you know his attributes, you would know that it's not going to be a problem for him. So he says, for instance, in Surah Taghabun, 64, verse 4, يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. He knows whatever is in the heavens and the earth. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا تُسِرُّونَ وَمَا تُعْلِنُونَ. And he knows what you hide, conceal, and what you declare. وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ. And God knows what is there in your hearts. He knows your intentions as well. So, I mean, if you believe in that God, why would ever there be a reason for you to feel unsure as to how he's going to hold you accountable? But then he goes on to also tell us that, the body that you've been given by the Almighty, which right now is yours and you can operate the way you will, the different parts of your body, um, your limbs, they are going to testify. They will let the Almighty know what you were doing with them. Honestly, more than 1400 years ago, when it was mentioned, probably people would just believe because it's mentioned in the Quran. Now, it's not a problem for us to understand, the kind of information technology has, made progress in the way we know. information is easily available. The Quran says, this is Surah number 41, Surah Hamim Sajda, verse 20. Shahida alayhim sam'uhum wa absaruhum wa juluduhum. Their ears and their eyes and their body, their skin, they're all going to testify against them. Bima kanu yamalun. They'll testify about what they used to do. They will mention what exactly they did with us, with those limbs, while they were living in the world, and they were given the freedom that they exercised to do whatever they wanted to. So, in other words, whatever we are doing, our limbs are making a record of it. It's all being observed and saved. It's going to be shown on the Day of Judgment. The third aspect that the Almighty mentions is that He has appointed two scribes. Well, scribe metaphorically. We're not sure what is going to be the manner they are recording what we are doing. But there are two scribes, one on our left side, the other on the right side. And they're making note of everything that we say. And that also implies in what we do. And, all details are recorded. إِذْ يَتَلَقَّى الْمُتَلَقِّيَانِ عَنِ الْيَمِينِ وَعَنِ الشِّمَالِ قَيْدٍ. So imagine when the two receivers receive, seated on the left side and the right side, Atid, a ready observer to record it. مَا يَلْفِظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ. No word does he, that is, the individual, speak, except that there are observers ready to record. So that's another arrangement that the Almighty mentions is going to be there on the Day of Judgment. That's going to enable the Almighty to know whatever people were doing. Then there is another aspect that has been mentioned, which is that at least in the case of some nations, you never know. I mean, in the case of all humans, that might be an arrangement. The Almighty is going to ask those individuals who were held responsible or were given the responsibility to deliver the Almighty's message to their nations. They are going to be asked whether they actually delivered the message or not. And the others, in turn, who were the ones who were given the message, they too are going to be asked, did you get the message? Right? So the Quran says, Surah 7, Surah Al-Araf, verses 6 and 7, فَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الَّذِينَ أُرْسِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ. And we most certainly are going to ask those who were sent to the people, the messengers. وَلَنَسْأَلَنَّ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And most certainly we are going to ask those to whom they were sent. Mursalin are those who were sent, and Ursila ilayhim are the ones to whom they were sent. In other words, and this is what is clear from other passages of the Quran, the Almighty would ask on the Day of Judgment, why did things go wrong? Did you not know? Did you not receive this man, the one that we sent to you as our messenger, as somebody who was informing you about what we expect from you? So why did you ignore it? So, that kind of accountability is also going to be there. And in one passage, it is mentioned about, well, twice it has been mentioned about the last prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the same thing is going to happen in his case too. And the Quran mentions in detail the same process of accountability about Jesus Christ, Isa alayhi salam. Probably he has been singled out to, for the purpose of describing what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment, because there's a large human population which talks about Jesus Christ in a way that he never talked to them about. And the Almighty is going to ask him, did you tell them that you are my son and your father is also divine? And that process is going to take place. But this is going to take place with everyone, Muslims, non-Muslims. as much as they knew. So the Quran says, وَكَيْفَ إِذَا جِئْنَا مِنْ كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ بِشَهِيدٍ. What a day would it be when we are going to bring for each of the nations a witness. وَجِئْنَا بِكَ, and we are going to bring you as a witness, O Prophet, عَلَى هَؤُلَاءِ شَهِيدًا, against these people. So, when the message was delivered, it was made available, and the people were informed about what their creator expected from them. And then it got ignored. Uh, the accountability process would involve questioning as well. So uh, that is what the Quran mentions regarding how information is going to be made available. As I said earlier, there are two questions that the Quran answers in details in different passages. Why should there be a life hereafter? And how life hereafter is possible, is going to be possible? How humans are going to be recreated? How is it possible? And how is information going to be available? But there are two other questions, not important questions, and yet the Quran mentions them because the disbelievers used to ask those questions, particularly one of the two. One question they would very fondly ask in response to the presentation of the understanding of life hereafter was, okay, if you're so very sure about the life hereafter, tell us when is it going to happen? Tell us a date, exact date. Now, you know what? This way of communication is adopted by people who are not interested. If you're talking to somebody about some truth, and the other person is, for whatever reason, is not interested, he will try to raise questions which are completely irrelevant, but they might puzzle you. You know, so they used to ask whenever the understanding of the life hereafter would be presented to them. They would ask, "Okay, I mean, if that's the case, and you're so sure about it, tell us when." The Quran says, for instance, in one passage, "Yas'alunaka anis saati ayyana mursaha." They ask you, O Prophet, about the day of judgment. When is it going to arrive? The Quran responds, "Fima anta min zikra." What do you have to do with its mention, O Prophet? Why would you mention anything about it? Ila rabbika muntaha. It is only your Lord who knows its details, everything. He's the one who is in charge and would decide about it. Yawma yarawnaha lam yalbathu. كأنهم يوم يرونها لم يلبثوا إلا عشية أو ضحاها. The fact of the matter is, sorry, I missed a verse. إنما أنت منذر من يخشاها. You are the one who have been given the responsibility to warn people, من يخشى, those who are prepared to fear it. That is, the day of judgment is going to arrive, and we have entrusted you with the task to warn people about it, that is going to come. But not everybody is going to accept it. Only those people are going to take it seriously who fear the prospects of that day to arrive. Now, you might say, I mean, so okay, are you trying to scare us? Is a religious message based on fear? Um, the truth of the matter is that for any reasonable person, uh, the future is something that he should be worried about. We have no idea. We are living this life, and we've got the kind of freedom and the kind of facilities, possibilities that we never deserved, and we're getting plenty of them. And we see people dying left, right, and center. This life is unfair. And it seems that there has to be something coming later. Now, a person who uses his intellect honestly is a sensitive individual, is a good human being, should be looking for an answer to this question, should be fearful. What is going to happen? I want to know. It needs to be a little arrogant to say that I don't care. How is it possible? How do you know? I mean, we have had our relatives, people who, in their own days were strong, mighty, popular, resourceful. They're gone. They're gone. They're not here. And very soon it's going to happen to us as well. And if there's somebody who says, I don't care, well, there is a problem with him. Because, as humans, normal humans, we should be looking forward to getting an answer as to what's going to happen. So the Quran says that, oh Prophet, your job is only to let people know that it's coming, it's going to arrive. Who are going to accept it? The ones who truly fear the prospects of it. So your job is not to inform people about the timetable, the exact time of it's happening. That's not your job. That's only for God to decide, and He wants to keep it um, keep it secret for people to take this life seriously and be responsible about what they're doing. Finally, it says, كَأَنَّهُمْ يَوْمَ يَرَوْنَهَا لَمْ يَلْبَثُوا إِلَّا عَشِيَّةً أَوْ ضُحَاهَا. The day they're going to face accountability, they will have a feeling that they lived in this life only for a morning or an evening. They would feel that this life has gone and probably we had very little time to live. It was as if we lived there for only a morning or an evening. To be honest, I mean, I can tell you, as an old man, if I look back, everything is gone. There's nothing left. And it has gone so quickly that it is as if it was just one day. So they will regret that day because, it's only for the exaggerated in involvement, obsession with this worldly life that some people are not interested in taking the next life seriously. But that the next life, the Quran tells us, is a reality. And when that reality is going to arrive and we'll be a part of it, people would realize that the life they had spent and the life because of which they had ignored this accountability process, it just uh, was probably a morning or an evening as far as its length duration was concerned. That was the third question. So the Quran does not encourage people asking this question because it's an irrelevant question. You should be convinced that it's going to happen. Why? Because it makes sense. We need a life hereafter. Why? Because we getting recreated after death is possible. And also, the process of accountability and the information that would be needed for it is possible. The timings should not be your concern. The Almighty is going to decide. The last question is, where is it going to happen? Although again, it's not really a question that needs to be addressed, but the Almighty has addressed it. Probably one of the reasons is that some of those intellectuals / philosophers who turned against religion for one reason or another, like people became atheists, they became agnostics, etc. They raise many questions. They criticize the concept. And one of the things that they mention is that, you're trying to claim that there is a God who is wise, who does everything for a reason. What kind of God is he? Do you not know that this world around you, except for this very tiny planet Earth, is a completely useless existence? It's good for nothing. So, there's a lot of force in this understanding with the way when it's presented. So probably it was as if to address people like those who are asking this question or for other reasons. The Almighty just mentioned in one of the verses, it's verse 48 of Surah Ibrahim, Surah number 14. يَوْمَ تُبَدَّلُ الْأَرْضُ غَيْرَ الْأَرْضِ وَالسَّمَاوَاتِ. It's going to happen on the day when this earth, this world is going to be converted into another, as well as the heavens. In other words, This entire existence around you, which some people say is worthless, useless, it's a waste of space, is all going to be utilized on the day of judgment for the purpose of the Almighty's accountability process to take place, and then later for people to be accommodated either for getting punished or for getting rewarded. So don't think that what He has created is for no purpose. It is as if to let you know that a large number of billions and billions of people who have come, who are still here, and are going to come later, the Almighty is going to hold people accountable for what they did, take decisions about them, and then whatever is decided about them, for them to be accommodated, there is enough space available. So if you or the scientists tell you that, this universe is so big that the more we learn about it, the more it seems that, its vastness becomes even bigger. Don't be surprised, because the Almighty has to take His decisions and to implement them. So that is all about the life hereafter. We did belief in God and its arguments, belief in life hereafter. And the next few sessions we are going to devote to the understanding of the belief in prophets. Why do we believe in them? Because as I said, the Quran never asks you to believe in anything for no reason. Whatever we have been asked to believe in, we have been explained through arguments. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي